Blind date on Christmas Eve. The poor single dad arrived late, but the CEO waited anyway. Snow drifted softly across the city streets on Christmas Eve as the clock ticked past 7. Inside a warm restaurant glowing with golden lights and holiday decorations, a successful CEO sat alone at a corner table, staring at the entrance. The waiter had already asked twice if she wanted to order. Her blind date was over 40 minutes late. Most people would have left. Most people would have assumed they had been stood up. But something deep inside her told her to stay a little longer. Before we begin this heartwarming story, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Love Stories if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of unexpected connections. Your support helps us share more inspiring stories with people around the world. Emily Carter had spent years building her company from the ground up. At 38, she was one of the youngest CEOs in the city. Her schedule was packed with meetings, flights, and endless responsibilities. Success surrounded her, yet loneliness followed her home every evening. Her friends constantly encouraged her to start dating again, but after years of disappointment, she had almost given up. Finally, after much persuasion, she agreed to a blind date arranged by a close friend. The man's name was Daniel Brooks. Emily knew almost nothing about him except that he was a single father raising his young daughter alone. Their mutual friend described him as kind, hardworking, and genuine. Emily appreciated those qualities, but as the minutes passed and Daniel failed to appear, she began questioning whether agreeing to the date had been a mistake. Outside, however, Daniel was fighting a battle Emily knew nothing about. Earlier that afternoon, Daniel's daughter Lily had developed a sudden fever. As a warehouse worker struggling to make ends meet, Daniel didn't have the luxury of private childcare or extra help. He spent hours comforting Lily, checking her temperature, and debating whether he should cancel the date altogether. But Lily, despite feeling unwell, insisted that her father go. Daniel rarely did anything for himself. Every decision he made revolved around his daughter. Since losing his wife 5 years earlier, he had devoted every ounce of energy to being both father and mother. Life had not been easy. Bills piled up. Overtime shifts exhausted him. There were days when he skipped meals so Lily could have everything she needed. Yet he never complained. As evening approached, Lily's fever finally eased. A kind elderly neighbor agreed to stay with her for a few hours. Daniel hurried to leave, but fate seemed determined to test him. Heavy holiday traffic clogged every road. Then his aging car broke down several blocks from the restaurant. Standing in the cold with snow falling around him, Daniel felt defeated. He considered turning around and going home. After all, what successful CEO would wait for a man who arrived nearly an hour late? But he thought about Lily's encouraging smile and decided to keep going. He parked the car, bundled himself against the freezing wind, and ran through the snow-covered streets toward the restaurant. Meanwhile, Emily watched families laugh together around her. Couples exchanged gifts and shared quiet moments. The loneliness she usually buried beneath work slowly resurfaced. She wondered if success had come at the cost of meaningful relationships. Then the restaurant door opened. A tired man stepped inside, breathing heavily from running through the cold. Snowflakes clung to his coat. His face showed both embarrassment and exhaustion. Beside him stood a little girl wrapped in a winter scarf. The elderly neighbor had experienced a family emergency at the last minute, forcing Daniel to bring Lily along. Daniel looked around nervously until his eyes met Emily's. The entire restaurant seemed to grow quiet. Emily noticed the worn shoes, the patched coat, and the anxiety in his expression. But she also noticed something else. She saw a father holding his daughter's hand with tenderness and protection. She saw genuine love. Instead of anger, she felt curiosity. As they sat together, Daniel apologized sincerely and explained everything that had happened. He spoke honestly about his life, his struggles, and his daughter. There was no attempt to impress her with exaggerated stories or false confidence. He simply told the truth. Emily found herself listening more carefully than she had listened to anyone in years. Lily soon became the unexpected center of the evening. The little girl's innocence filled the table with warmth. She proudly showed Emily a handmade Christmas card she had created for her father. The card was simple, decorated with crayons and glitter, but it carried a message that touched Emily deeply. It thanked Daniel for always being there. As the night continued, Emily began seeing life through a different lens. She spent her days surrounded by executives chasing profits and status. Yet across from her sat a man who measured success differently. For Daniel, success meant keeping promises, protecting his daughter, and showing up every day no matter how difficult life became. That realization stirred something inside her heart. For years, Emily had admired ambition. Now she found herself admiring resilience. The snow outside grew heavier as the restaurant prepared to close. Neither Emily nor Daniel seemed eager to leave. When they finally stepped outside, the city looked magical beneath the Christmas lights. Daniel felt embarrassed that he could not offer luxury or wealth. He knew Emily's world was vastly different from his own. But Emily was no longer thinking about social status or financial success. She was thinking about character. Over the following months, they continued seeing each other. Their relationship grew slowly and naturally. Emily learned about the sacrifices Daniel made every day. Daniel learned that behind Emily's impressive achievements was a woman who longed for genuine connection and family. Lily, meanwhile, formed a special bond with Emily. The little girl's laughter began filling spaces that had once felt empty. For the first time in years, all three of them started imagining a future together. Sometimes life's greatest gifts arrived disguised as delays, struggles, and unexpected detours. If Daniel's car had not broken down, if Lily had not gotten sick, if Emily had left when everyone expected her to, their paths might never have truly crossed. But kindness gave the evening a chance. Patience gave love an opportunity. And Christmas Eve became the beginning of a story none of them could have planned. Special request: before we reach the end of this story, comment below. Kindness changes everything. If you believe one act of patience can change a person's life forever. Years later, Emily often looked back on that snowy Christmas Eve. Not because it was perfect, but because it was real. It reminded her that the most valuable people in life are not always the ones who arrive on time, wear expensive clothes, or have impressive titles. Sometimes they are the ones fighting silent battles, carrying heavy burdens, and still finding the strength to keep moving forward. Daniel arrived late that night. But he arrived with honesty, courage, and love. And Emily waited long enough to see it. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, comment, and subscribe to Kindness Love Stories. Your engagement helps spread messages of kindness, hope, and second chances to people who may need them most. Because sometimes the greatest Christmas miracle is simply finding someone who chooses to stay when everyone else would have walked away.